He was the Constitutional Commission delegate who integrated the right to a balanced and healthful ecology in the 1987 Philippine Constitution. It is our privilege to have you with us and share with us your knowledge on the matter. Everyone, let us welcome retired Justice Adolfo Astur.
Thank you, Associate Justice. You can enter the screen now. You start speaking.
Okay, thank you very much, Dads. I'd like to greet everybody and thank Oceana for this opportunity and initiative of celebrating the 27th anniversary of the OPOSA ruling that was promulgated by the Supreme Court exactly on July 30, 1993, penned by no less than our beloved Chief Justice Hilario G. Davide Jr., and filed by no less than Antonio Oposa Jr., who are both here today. So this is a fitting celebration of 27 years of the Oposa ruling, which went around the world. It has become an international standard and landmark, and we are very proud of this ruling. Now, my role is to explain the basis for this ruling, which is a provision in our Constitution, the 1987 Constitution, which is contained in Article 2, Declaration of Principles and State Policies. And Section 16 of that Article 2 provides the right to a clean and balanced environment in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature. Now, the way this right started was that there is a committee. As you know, like Congress, the Constitutional Commission organized itself into committees. And one of the very important committee was the Committee on Declaration of Principles. But this committee failed to submit a report after every other committee had already submitted a report. And so the president of the Constitutional Commission, President Cecilia Munoz Palma, added me as a member to this committee to find out what was happening. And I found out that the reason why they were stuck is because there was a provision proposed by Ed Garcia to the effect that the state shall respect the right of nature to follow its own rhythm and harmony. Yun ang provision ni Ed Garcia. And the only lawyer in that committee, De Corozo Rosales, informed the committee that that cannot be adopted because only persons can have rights, and nature, not being a person under the law, cannot have a right. So to say that the right of nature to follow its own rhythm and harmony would not be acceptable to a lawyer, and so they got stuck. So when I went in there and as an additional member, I proposed a compromise and to say that to give it to the people, the right of the people to a clean and healthful environment shall be respected and enforced by the state. So they all agreed, and a report was submitted to the floor. And that's the origin of that. And then Blas Oakley refined and made it more flowery. So we have the provision now, which was the provision that was seized by Tony Oposa in an unprecedented petition filed in the Supreme Court on behalf of his children and generations yet unborn. Isa pa yung problema because if you are yet unborn, you have no legal standing. And yet, to test whether or not a person unborn can have a recognized right, he filed this case. And the Supreme Court, speaking to Mr. Chief Justice, now Chief Justice Hilario G. Davide Jr., sustained the view that even unborn children can have a right. And this is, again, unprecedented. And this is the Oposa ruling. They can have a right because of the intergenerational concept that the nature that we have, the earth that we have, is something we have in trust, we hold in trust for future generations. So even future generations have the right, and we have the obligation to preserve this earth on their behalf. So it's a beautiful story of how this whole concept was started by Ed Garcia and passed by the Constitutional Commission and adopted by our people when they approved by more than 80% the present Constitution in the plebiscite held for that purpose. And that was 1987, and in 1993, the Supreme Court rendered this Oposa versus Factoran ruling that changed the whole landscape of environmental law. The key to this ruling is that that provision of the Constitution was held as self-executing. No need for Congress to enforce it. It is enforceable by itself, self-executory.